everyone at welcome po sa aking channel. This is Coach Jarret. Hindi ko na po maintay kasi ang dami na nating namimiss. Okay, pasensya na po mga kaibigan. Pero marami na po tayong namimiss mga kaibigan. Happy Independence Day today mga kaibigan. At kanina nagkaroon din ng launch ang Sambayanan. Sambayanan, yun po yung pro-administration group na laban sa CPP, NPA, NDF. Doon po kasama sila Kashane. Ito naman po yung Isang Bayan. Isang Bayan naman po itong papanorin natin mga kaibigan. Bakit po Isang Bayan? Kasi ang tutok naman nila sa eleksyon. Alam naman natin itong kabalbalan ni ni Isang Bayan. So ang gagawin natin mga kaibigan, sabay-sabay natin papanoorin to. Itong ginawa nilang kabalbalan dito mga kaibigan. 3 hours po ito mga kaibigan 2 o'clock to 5 p.m. So kung wala pa po kayong pagkain na nakatabi sa inyong pwesto dyan, maghanda na kayo merienda. Ako, naghanda na ako ng merienda dito. Tsaka pagkain. Pero kung gusto nyo mga kaibigan, pwede tayong magkape ng sabay-sabay, pwede tayong kumain ng sabay-sabay habang pinag-uusapan natin itong ang pinaggagawa ng Isang Bayan. Ilalagay ko lang yung chatbox natin mga kaibigan. Ilalagay ko yung chatbox natin para mailagay ko rin yung chatroom dito sa atin. Lalagyan ko na ng audio to, sabay-sabay na natin pakinggan.
And with that, dadako na po tayo sa next part of our program.
Ito yung live.
Distinguished reactors. Our first reactor.
So yung mga una, kanina mga kaibigan, recorded lahat. Ito yung live.
Her right as a member of the Fourth Estate and understands that the people
God.
have the right to know kung ano ang nangyayari sa kanilang kapaligiran at bansa. Our second reactor is a lawyer, educator, and environmental policy expert. A former Undersecretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, Executive Director of Manila Observatory, and Dean of the Ateneo School of Government. A member of the academe and currently teaches law, governance, and philosophy in numerous universities. And the third reactor is a distinguished economist, political analyst, and columnist from Philippine Star. Let us all welcome rappers Maria Ressa, Attorney Tony Lavinia, and Andrew Masigo. Hi!
Oh my God!
Hello. Thank you for having
Hindi
us.
rito mga to.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Ms. Maria Ressa, would you like to go ahead po?
Yes, sure. I mean, it's great to hear the values that are behind Isang Bayan. But I have a few questions if it's okay.
Mga kaibigan, wag po kayo mag-dislike sa video ko
Key things. It's also fantastic to get.
Doon po kayo sa actual sa live nila sa Rappler.
More about what are the key focus points that Isang Bayan is looking at. Justice Carpio laid out some general ones, but the dichotomy, for example, the false equivalence of opening up the economy versus health issues, right? Or the West Philippine Sea, of course, right? But beyond that, health, education, all of these things that are there. And then beyond this choice is what will Isang Bayan do after that? I think the plus side is, I think this is a first. So congratulations to the conveners of Sambayan. This is the first time that party politics moves forward in a post-Marcos world in a far more transparent manner. And so I do hope that everyone from every walk of life and every political position in the Philippines will join, because the more of us are on board, the better it will be. So what will you do after? And then in terms of the real focus in terms of choosing the candidates, will you be putting priorities on specific portions of policy?
Si Joseph Morong ba yan? Sabi ni Dave Asarcon. Kamukha ba ni Joseph Morong?
Ako na?
Yes po, attorney. Your
Thank
turn
you,
po.
Ria. Mainit na pagbati sa inyong lahat sa hapon na ito, sa araw na ito, ng araw ng ating kalayaan.
Ayan, aktivista rin itong isang to.
College student pa ako, ay tinuruan ako ng aking history teacher, si Professor Vince Rafael. Ginamit niya yung libro ni Ray Ileto na Pasyon at Revolution, na magkakaiba yung independensya at kalayaan. At yung ating Independence Day, mas independensya yun kaysa kalayaan kasi naging independent tayo sa Amerika, sa Spanya muna, pagkatapos later on sa Amerika. Pero kahit ngayon, alam natin na nanganganib yung ating independensya.
Kaya nga Independence Day, di ba?
Nandyan pa rin yung Estados Unidos. At higit sa lahat, hindi pa rin tayo malaya sa maraming mga bagay sa ating lipunan. Hindi tayo malaya sa kamangmangan, hindi tayo malaya sa pagkawalang kapantay ng ating lipunan, hindi tayo malaya sa di makatarungan na lipunan, sa kahirapan, hindi tayo malaya sa maraming bagay. Kaya napakahalaga yung ginagawa ng isang bayan na proseso, mahalaga at napakalaki yung taya dito. The stakes are very high, no? Kaya nagpapasalamat ako sa trabaho ng conveners at lahat ng staff at membro na sumali ng sambayan sa buong mundo.
Alam mo yung mga kaibigan, ang dami-dami mong binabanggit pero wala kang sinasabi. Yun yung ginagawa ni Kuya ngayon. Ang dami-dami niyang kinukuda pero wala siyang sinasabi.
Sa Visayas, sa iba't ibang lugar ng Luzon, lalo sa mga kabundukan natin, at sa coastal areas natin, mga fisher folk at lahat na lalo na rin mga katutubo, dahil sila ay napakalaki din ng kanilang taya dito sa eleksyon na ito. Gusto ko lang mag-comment sa isang proseso na ginagawa ng sambayan na naging kasali ako kasi sa akin yun ang pinakamaganda. Nabanggit din niya ni Maria Ressa na for the first time para meron tayong issue-based na coalition na ginagawa, no? Nakasali na ako sa ilang mga talakayan, nabanggit din niya ni paring Bert kanina. Nakasali ako doon sa usaping kapayapaan, peace process. Nakasali ako sa usaping kalikasan, environment and climate. At sumali din ako, nakinig ako, hindi ko nagsalita, pero nakinig ako doon sa yung isang araw lang, usaping katutubo, indigenous people's rights na napakahalaga sa akin dahil isa sa malaking trabaho ko ngayon ay yung pagtulong ng mga lumad schools na talagang sinusubukan durugin ng administrasyong Duterte.
O kasi ayaw niya magpa-accredit sa DepEd, di ba?
Lahat na lang tinatapon sa kanila pero hanggang ngayon ay tumatayo pa rin, nakikilaban, nananalo naman kami lahat sa lahat ng mga korte pero ganoon pa rin ang ginagawa ng gobyerno. At marami pang ibang issue na
nananalo daw sila.
Yung corruption, of course yung West Philippine Sea, napakahalaga na
sa lahat ng mga korte.
Tama ang posisyon ng ating mga kandidato dito.
Isang beses lang nananalo agad sa lahat.
Sa mga magsasaka, sa manggagawa, napakahalaga yon. And sa higit sa lahat, at masaya din ako sa sambayan na nandyan yung malaking presence ng youth, no? Maraming salamat na nandito kayo sa usaping ito at nandito kayo sa organisasyong ito ng yung in a mass way, yung marami kayong nandito. I think na kung meron tayong pag-asa na manalo ay kung tama yung ating plataforma, tama yung ating mga issues at tanggapin yun ng ating mga kandidato. I don't believe in populist leaders, but I believe in popular ideas.
Populist na naman.
Popular, ibig sabihin, pro-people ideas. Ni minsan pa tayo nagkaroon ng kandidato, wala pa tayong kandidato sa tingin ko na wala pa tayong presidente na tunay na nagsaside sa batayang sektor, halimbawa, no? Sometimes meron ka mga presidente na magagawa ng mabuti dito o dyan, pero yung kabuuhan talaga, dahil sa plataforma nila wala naman. Napakahalaga na ilabas yung plataforma ng maaga. Sa tingin ko, condition dapat din yon ng sambayan na yung presidential candidate at VP candidate at senatorial candidates ay tanggapin yung mga lalabas na plataforma dun sa mga talakayang ginagawa ng sambayan. Otherwise, parang useless, parang token lang yung ating...
Parang pagsasalita nito ni Kuya, useless. Ang dami niyang sinasabi, pero wala talaga siyang gustong message.
Dun sa proseso ng pagpili ng kandidato.
Correct, John Ortega. Walang concrete statements.
At magandi naman yung steps. Po sa tingin ko may isang missing aspect dito. Kahit paano sa tingin ko winnability, importante din yon
Winnability.
i-assess. At sa tingin ko baka maganda na
Ayaw nila sa populist, di ba? Kakasabi lang niya, ayaw niya sa populist leaders. Pero kailangan may winnability. Ano ba ang eleksyon sa Pilipinas? Popular elections tayo sa Pilipinas, mga kaibigan.
na polling na ginagawa ng mga traditional na polling organizations, mukha nga yung SWS hindi sila naglalabas ng mga ratings na ngayon. I mean, ewan ko kung later in the future lalabas sila. Yung nandiyan naman yung Pulse Asia. By the way, I believe in the methodologies of those, no? Kasi talaga naman pinag-aaralan ko yon at nakita ko naman na generally those are global standards na sinusunod nila. But hindi siya pwede yung ganong klaseng polling lang for a candidate. Kailangan customized. Saan ba tayo weak? Bakit ba yung ilan sa ating mga kandidato ay gaano kagaling sila? Bakit ang baba pa rin nila? Bakit merong
Mga kaibigan, sabi niya, naniniwala daw siya sa mga surveys ng Pulse Asia, etc. etc. Pero hindi raw sapat yun, mga kaibigan. Hindi raw sapat yun. Ba't mo kinukontra yung sarili mo?
na bulag, no? We go to the elections blind. So yun lang yung dagdag ko dun sa proseso that between now and October, kasi naman, agree din ako kay paring Bert, dahan-dahan lang, hindi naman kailangan right away. Hindi naman kailangan right away kasi we really have until October or at least September man lang to proclaim our candidates and to proclaim our support, di ba? So sana magkaroon tayo ng scientificong proseso din ng pag-intindi ng weaknesses, ng opportunities, at anong pwedeng gawing campaign strategy to make those win, no? Kasi kahit napakaganda yung agenda natin,
Napakaganda daw.
kung yung
Wow!
personalities naman, di ba, for some reason or another, hindi natin siya mauurong, may ceiling siya ng support, baka sayang lang din yung effort. So I think importante yung scientific process for doing that, no? Comment din, panghuli na ito, before my final points, yung process of unifying is very important, no? And it's a question actually I want to address yung organizers. Napansin ko yung sa chat, no? Bibo ang chat kung sa Bisaya pa.
Pwede ba ako pumunta sa
Pero
chat
para
nila?
siyang di ba? Para siyang mga chat ng mga dyaryo, ng Rappler noon na ang daming minsan may insultuhan pa yung ganyan, di ba? Very important in a unifying process. Lalo na yung mga groups dito, mga grupo dito, organized forces nandito dito na magkaibang ideolohiya, magkaibang kasaysayan, may mga personalities pa na nag-aaway-away noon. Very important sa atin yung respect for each other, di ba? Very important, please avoid toxic statements against fellow candidates. Na nakita ko na yan. Na dun, at least within our ranks, no? Please avoid that. Di ba? And sana yung conveners call them out.
Ipokrito ka talaga. Wag daw insultuhin yung mga kasama nila. Ang insultuhin lang daw yung mga nasa labas. Wag daw insultuhin si Lenny, si Grace po, si Trillanes. Sino pa? Si Brother Eddie, si Chel Jokno, tsaka si Vilma Santos. Ibang tao lang daw.
Madaming kandidato. Di ba? Baka umabot tayo ng 10 kandidato. Di ba? Baka nga 2 Duterte pa at sa 2 ticket pa, di ba? Ilan sa Mindanao, baka 2, 3 sa Mindanao tatakbo, di ba? Merong ibang senador na tatakbo, alam natin, nagsabi na sila this week, no? Ako wini-welcome ko yon actually, wini-welcome ko, hindi ko inaano kasi ganyan naman talaga ang sistema natin. Wala naman tayong run-off election at lahat. So wini-welcome ko na maraming mga kandidato. And I have the very simple political
I
rule,
doubt
diba?
na may appeal to sa masa, mga kaibigan. Tani
Diba,
Tolentino, I doubt.
The enemy
Malabo.
of your enemy is actually your ally, di ba?
See?
So kailangan tingnan natin mabuti. Baka maganda rin na hindi natin necessarily i-pull down yung ibang mga kandidato. Kasi baka nakakatulong sa atin yon.
Oh, yun ang gusto nila mangyari,
sa tingin
mahati
ko,
yung boto.
2016, a lot of it was about, kaya nanalo si Duterte because the other candidates ran negative campaigns and pulled each other down instead of positive campaigns. So importante sa tingin ko yung positive campaigns as a big picture sa lahat ng ito.
Ang gusto nila, mga
Malaking
kaibigan,
silbi ng bayan.
mahati
Of
ang
course,
boto
sa
ng
isang bayan, ang tanong ko
91%.
is,
Narinig nyo na,
paano
siya na
tayo
mismo ang nagsabi.
at some point, diba?
Siya na mismo ang nagsabi. Ang gusto nila, mahati ang boto ng 91%. Kaya sige, Hayaan nyo lang tumakbo si Pacquiao, hayaan nyo lang tumakbo si Isko, hayaan nyo lang tumakbo kung sino-sino para mahati ang boto ng 91%. Takbo si Mayor Sara, takbo si BBM, tapos sila, yung 3%, solid ang boto nila. O di makakapasok nga naman sila. Di ba?
First of all, thank you for having me here as a reactor. My reaction
Andrew
comes in 2
Masigan.
points. The first one in the form of a question, and the second one in the form of an insight. But before that, allow me to express my gratitude and my congratulations to the Board of Conveners of 1SAMBAYAN, because truly, 1SAMBAYAN is fast becoming the symbol and the unifying party or vehicle for the opposition. And at this time when we faced an enemy with formidable resources, and as a matter of fact, the resources of the entire government, we
Wow!
really have to be united.
Oh my
So, to
God!
the Board of Conveners, my
Oh my
kudos
God,
and
ang
my-
kapal ng mukha
my
nitong
gratitude.
Masigan na to. Mga kaibigan, sinabi lang niya, ngayon lang, na ginagamit ng administrasyon ang pondo ng bayan para magkampanya sa mga manok nila. Ayusin yung mga allegations nyo, ha? That's borderline libelous already.
Dynasty law, for instance, or their stand on federalism. So my first reaction is actually a question, and will 1SAMBAYAN be imposing its reform agenda on the candidates, or will 1SAMBAYAN simply be adopting the policy positions of the candidates? I would really like to know that as a voter. Now, another thing, let me segue now to another point that I'd like to make. See, I don't know if many people know, but as you introduced me earlier, yes, I am an economist, and I've been trained to look at data and information that no one can refute. And for that, I rely on statistics. Now, I just want to provide an insight to all our viewers out there, because it's been said that the Duterte administration was instrumental in ushering in a new age of economic revival, has made the country stronger fundamentally with regards to the economy, as evidenced by exports, growth, etc., etc. Now,
Okay.
I'm here to say that based on the data, that is not the case.
What
So
data are you
please
talking
let
about?
us not believe that the Duterte administration did well for the economy.
Where's the data
And
that
I
you're
can
talking
prove it by
about?
numbers,
Pakita mo,
okay?
sige.
The statistics show that the economy and all the development indices actually peaked in 2017. So this was the, shall we say, the remnants of good governance back in the Aquino administration. Growth in 2016 was our peak. And that
Oh my
we clocked
God.
in a growth of 7.1%.
Alam mo,
And
ipakita
it has
mo
been
yung mga
slowly
numero mo,
declining.
pag-aralan
Even
natin.
before
Sige.
the
I
pandemic.
dare you,
It
Masigan.
fell
Mas
off the cliff
economist
during
ka,
the
di ba?
pandemic, but
Mas
before
magaling ka
that,
sa akin pagdating dyan. Pero ipakita mo sa akin yung numero mo, pag-aralan natin.
bumabagal na. Okay? And the same is true
Kapal ng
for
mukha nito.
foreign direct investments, was at its peak in 2017 and decelerated after. Now, I think I cannot not talk about the economy without mentioning the trade deficit, because this is a time bomb that we are not really talking about, but it's something that we must confront.
O sige, let's talk trade deficit. Sige.
When in the height of the Aquino how should we say, good governance of the Aquino
Wow, good
administration,
governance daw mga
or
kaibigan.
investments were
Aquino
coming in,
administration.
our trade
Kapal ng mukha
deficit
talaga.
was at a measly, and I say measly, 11.5 billion. In other words, the dollars going out versus the dollars going in, ang deficit lang was 11.5 billion. Okay? Fast forward, pre-pandemic, 2019, and the trade deficit had ballooned to 46.3 billion. This is not, as an economist, this is not comfortable for
Hindi
me,
46.3
okay?
mga kaibigan, it's 41.98 billion.
Fundamental problem that
Okay, 41.98 billion.
during the Duterte administration,
Tingnan natin
they fueled growth through spending, not through production. At para sa akin, that is very, very alarming. Okay, that's very alarming because we
Wait lang,
cannot
ah.
import
Kukunin ko
all
yan.
our needs without exporting the corresponding amount. We will face a currency crisis if we go down this road. So I just wanted to share that to the whole to all our viewers.
Yung
Kasi
numero
nga,
pa lang niya, hindi siya 46, it's
niyayabang ng
41
Duterte
41
administration
point
na
something billion.
they have done well by the economy. But that is really
Tingnan
not the
natin
case,
yung
and the
numero.
numbers prove it. And my last point is this: we're all governed. The community of nations are governed by development indices. In other words, all of us are trying to climb the different levels of development indices. And even here, makikita nyo talaga na nag-peak tayo in 2017 and it's been downhill ever since.
Mga kaibigan,
And I'll name
Iko-correct ko lang yung
the
pinagsasabi niya.
development indices.
Kasi mga kaibigan,
One is the World Economic Forum
meron siyang maling sinabi.
We've tumbled,
Itong si Masiga na to.
we've tumbled significantly.
Itatama ko lang yung yung mga numero.
For the interest of time, let me
Mga kaibigan, nung 2016, ang ating deficit, ang sinabi niya 10 billion lang, 11 billion. Ang totoong kwento, nasa 33 billion, mga kaibigan. 33 billion. Okay? Tumaas yan nung 2018. Wala pa yung mga numero. Nandito lang yung yung, what do you call this? Yung mga numero lang. Tumaas ng 2018, 50 billion. Bumaba ng 2019, 41 billion. Tingnan nyo talaga mga kasinungalingan itong mga hayop na to. Sinungaling talaga eh. Sinungaling, mga kaibigan.
We've fallen in Global Innovation Index. We've fallen in global peace and order. We've fallen in economic freedom. We've plunged in information technology, and we've plunged in gender equality. So ano ba yan? Lahat na lang ng
Sinungaling
lahat na
tong
lang
mga
ng
kaibigan.
importanteng,
Sobrang sinungaling. Mga hayop tong mga to, mga kaibigan. Pasensya na. Nakakagalit lang kasi
Imbes na
yung
umabante tayo, we're going backward.
yung harap-harapang ang pinagsisinungalingan. Tapos may pasabi pa siya na ako ekonomista ako na tinitignan ko mga numero, etc., etc. Pero pag tinignan mo yung mga numero pinagsasabi niya mali-mali. Sinungaling, mga kaibigan.
Ignore. And indeed, for the economic data that's coming out, we really need change, because if not, I don't think the country can take another 6 years of a spending economy and not a production economy. It will lead to a currency crisis, and that's the last thing we need at this moment, especially that our economy is on its knees following a double dip recession. So ayun lang po ang aking reaction for now, and I'm happy to take questions later on. Maraming salamat po.
Walang audio, wait lang. Let's do this. Ayan.
Andrew's inspired me to say we have the data, and we've had the data since 2016. And in order to beat these disinformation networks, what we in Rappler called the propaganda machine in 2016,
Kayo yun
will
eh.
require
Kayo yung
real
propaganda machine
civic
eh.
engagement, real values. So technology is both a weapon and a tool to manipulate us. It is also something that Isangbayan is going to have to deal with. I asked 2 questions, and the first question was really about so much of what Isangbayan has done is focused on a mass-based voter, right? Getting people together, getting groups together, but power and money have those who have power and money have largely stayed quiet, and the death by 1,000 cuts of our democracy, of our
1,000 cuts na naman.
institutions, what we have seen happen in the past 5 years happen
Ito sa
because
ulo.
too many of those who have power and money have stayed quiet. And I've stated over and over that silence is complicity. I think the question is, how are you going to harness that? How will you make those who feel they have too much to lose, whereas our poor are losing their lives, but those who are protective of what they have, how do you get them on board? And then the second one was, what will Isangbayan do after choosing the candidates. And that piggybacks off of Andrew's question, which is, are you going to take the policies of the candidates, or will you help shape the policies of the candidates? Justice Carpio. And thank you, first of all.
Maraming
to all the
salamat,
conveners.
Robert
One more
Ramos.
time,
No?
I will
Sabi
say
ni
that
Robert
because it
Ramos.
takes courage
Paikutusan
to
si
step up
Reza.
during
Hi
these
to my
times.
wife, Terry. Maraming salamat sa
Ms.
super chat.
Mariera, so if you would you like to address this question to Justice Carpio, if that's okay? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Justice
Yes.
Carpio, if you could, the question is, how will you make those who feel that they have too much to lose come on board, and what will Isambayan do after choosing the candidates? There po.
Thank you, Maria, for that question. On your second question, what will Isambayan do after choosing the candidates? Well, we will take part in the campaign. Of course, the candidates belong to their own political parties. They will have their own political machineries. But we will put up a political machinery for Isambayan
So,
to
dalawa.
campaign for the entire election slate of the Isambayan, from president to the Senate. So we will have our own political machinery, separate from the political machineries of the political parties that compose the Isambayan.
Ay, nako.
On
Hindi
the
kaya ito lang
platform,
yung iniintay ni Robredo na piliin siya ng Isambayan tapos saka siya
we have
tatakbo
our own
presidente.
ideas how this country should move forward. We have taken a position on the West Philippine Sea on extrajudicial killings, and we will come out with our position on opening the economy. But we will jointly formulate.
Thank
a
you
final
ulit, Sir
platform
Robert Ramos, sa inyong
together with
super
the
chat. No?
candidates,
Paikutusan si
because,
Carpio.
we
Ito
have
may
to
wife
take into
Terry.
account their positions also. So it will be give and take. We'll have to come out with a common platform after we have chosen them. But we will have our own. We have already our own positions, and of course, we'll have to agree on a unified platform on this.
Ano kailangan? So, ibig sabihin, kailangan yung kandidato
that's my
nila
answer. Thank you.
lilinya
Thank you so
sa
much,
gusto ng
Justice
isang
Carpio.
bayan.
Excuse me.
Can I follow up? Just the first question. Yes, that's
Yeah.
that's interesting.
There's a
to me.
second question. Let me answer. On the funding, you're saying that the power and money are with other people. From what I know, because I was part of the political campaign machinery of former President Ramos in 1992, if you have a viable candidate, the big political donors will go to you. And right now, they're not showing their support because we don't have our candidates yet. And if we have a viable candidate, that's when they will show their support. In fact, from what I gather, they're just waiting for us to come out with a viable candidate, because they also they agree with us that we cannot allow another 6 years of the Duterte administration. You have big companies losing their franchises. Manila Water, their contracts, their franchises were just
Huli.
cut off. They won in the arbitration, international arbitration, and they were told you don't get anything. And
Huling-huli si Carpio. Ang sabi niya, may mga kausap na raw sila na iniintay na lang yung kandidato ng Liberal Party. Anong isang bayan. Ngayon, ang sabi niya, marami doon mga negosyante na nawalan ng kontrata, nawalan ng prangkisa, o mga kaibigan, sino yan? Manila Water, Maynilad, ABS-CBN. Alam na natin kung sino-sino yung mga magiging backer nila.
under that condition, they will leave the country if you continue with that. And that's why investments have been going down, because they're worried that their contracts will not be
Antonio
honored.
SC30. Ba't mo inamin?
And that's why
Ay,
we
nako.
will address this issue. We will ensure that due process is followed, because that's in the Constitution. What has happened here is that the president just canceled the franchises of
Oy, hindi ang presidente ang nag-cancel ha. Kongreso po ang nag-cancel, hindi ang Pangulo.
And that's a no-no for investors. They will avoid the Philippines if we do not correct this. Thank you.
Kaya pala kating-kati itong si si Velasco na buksan ng foreign direct investments, no?
Thank you so much,
Sige.
Mr. Scarpio. Up next, Attorney Lavinia, if you could just repeat the question.
Ma'am Elvi Soriano, maraming pong salamat sa inyong super chat. Sabi po niya, Coach, i-flash na natin sa Inodoro. Excited na ako. Watching from Long Beach, California. 1 a.m. na dito. Ingat lahat and protect BBM Sara or vice versa. God bless. Sabi po ni Ma'am Elvi Soriano. Maraming pong salamat.
Issue of winnability, di ba? I know, I mean, we're always saying naman na we have to have a good candidate with all the characters we want, but we also want that candidate obviously to be winnable, di ba?
Winnable.
And
Good
it's not
question.
just
Gusto ko yung
winnable
tanong
in the
niya.
sense na
Tingnan natin kung
winnable
nakasabihin
or
na
hindi,
isang
but
bayan dyan.
Can we make that candidate winnable? And sa tingin ko, kailangan ng scientific process to determine that. Hindi pwedeng sentimento lang. Hindi pwedeng, marami na sa chat, di ba? I want this, I want that. Only this candidate, only that candidate. I really urge everyone to abandon that mentality na only one candidate lang ang pwede. Di ba?
Correct. Well, agree ako doon. Kasi mga kaibigan, di ba, ilang
against,
beses kong sinasabi sa
the
inyo,
Duterte candidates, no?
pinag-aaway ang mga
So,
DDS
importante,
tsaka loyalista,
I think,
di ba? Oh.
May choices tayo.
Advantage
Importante
yun
na
para sa
tanungin
kanila,
natin,
mga kaibigan.
How can
Kaya
we make
sa
this
punto na yun,
candidate
agree ako
win,
sa kanya.
diba? And that's a scientific process. Hindi yan kuro-kuro, hindi yan instinct. So I was asking if you have to spend 100 million, 500 million, 1 billion, I don't know what it takes now to spend for a presidential campaign. I think 10 million upfront for a really good survey na customized would be very helpful.
Customized survey, so ibig sabihin may slant?
Actually, nasagot na ni Justice Carpio yung pag-shift, no? So I'm okay now with that question kasi nasagot na ni Justice Carpio, but I'd like to know what the scientific how scientific polling and campaigning will enter into the picture, lalo in making the decision kung sino yung ating candidate. I'm willing to support. I've said from the very beginning, if the process is right and we came out the right decisions, I'm willing to support, go all the way. No? I'm willing even to lead the campaign work in Mindanao, which will probably be the most difficult, no? Pinakamahirap siguro dito sa kampanyang ito. But I need some scientific di ba, assurance na pinag-isipan natin ito. Di ba? Hindi lang siya na parang kasi gusto natin, kasi ito yung it's on our heart, di ba? I think our minds are also important here as well. Yun lang.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for that question. One of the criteria for choosing the candidate is the capability of the candidate to mount a nationwide campaign to win. That's actually winnability, but we phrased
Totoo
it
naman.
in another way. It's the capability to mount a nationwide campaign. And another criterion that we're using is we have two kinds of surveys: the online survey, and we commission also traditional surveys of SWS and Pulse Asia, and we are asking.
So nag-commission na sila ng survey sa SWS tsaka Pulse Asia.
Questions like this: what if there are only two candidates, A versus B? Whom would you vote? So we go through all of this: A versus B, A versus C, A versus D, and then we also ask the question: if there are 3 or 4 candidates and other candidates are not actually going to run, and you chose the other candidates that are not running.
Essentially, mga
who is your
kaibigan, ang
second
sinasabi
choice?
ngayon dito ni Carpio, essentially po, mga kaibigan, ang sinasabi niya ngayon, gumagawa na sila ng survey para yung totoong survey daw na totoong makakapagsabi ng match up. So halimbawa, sa survey na yon, may mga question kung ang maglalaban sa election ay si Mayor Sara Duterte versus Leni Robredo, sinong pipiliin nyo? Mga ganong klaseng questions. Yun po yung sinasabi ni Carpio. Ang problema doon, mga kaibigan, paano mo i-validate yung tanong? Kasi mga kaibigan, sa paggawa po ng survey, hindi po yan kasing simple ng paggawa ng exam sa school. Complicated po yan, mga kaibigan. May validation pa po yan kung yung question is tama. Maraming salamat, Argo, sa super chat, no? Self-anointed JBC of Philippine politics. Correct. Ganun na mangyayari dyan. Para siyang Judicial Bar Council ng Philippine politics.
I know that it's loud and clear, no, that Isambayan will reconcile their platform to that of the candidate. But I'd like to make an input, and I think this is worth a grain of thought, worth something to think about for everybody. And this relates to political reform. And I think
Sabi ni Tani Tolentino, cute sana tong chick. Artista yan, si Rita Atayde yan.
And what I'm harping at is
So dapat
there's
cute talaga siya.
a serious flaw in the political system of the country. And that is the political elite and the economic elite are one and the same. And this breeds conflict of interest. And this exacerbates rather income inequality. Because the political elite are allowed to engage in business while the economic elite are allowed to engage in politics, both of which are meant to consolidate their wealth and power.
Yun nga ang definition ng
And in other
oligarch, di ba?
countries, like South Korea, for instance, the political elite and the business elite, their interests are never made to intersect. In other words, they're in fact even meant to mitigate one another. And I think that is a big factor that is causing the income inequality gap that's really in proportions that are alarming already in our situation here in the country. And also I want to raise another important factor, another important consideration with regards to political reform, and that is the enactment of a bill, an anti-dynasty bill. Okay, we know that the 1987 Constitution mandates that there should be an enabling law to prevent.
Maraming salamat ulit, no, Robert Ramos. No? 1 AM na raw sa States, 1 AM na raw doon. Paikutos na lang ang mga paikutos na lang sa lahat ng mga og na to. Hi to all from Cali. Mabuhay ka, Idol Coach. Maraming pong salamat, sir, sa inyo pong super chat. At na-appreciate po natin yan.
Law. So we're in parang na-checkmate tayo dito. So this really, these two areas of political reform are very important to me and to everyone else if we are to move forward in national development. And my question is, does this form part of the agenda of Isambayan?
Sige nga, sagutin mo nga, Isambayan.
Yes po. To all the conveners po, if anybody would like to answer lang po.
Yeah. Yes. I understand what you're saying, Andrew.
Sige, magsalita kayo ngayon.
Like in South Korea, the prosecution service is independent. And they can investigate politicians and government officials. And that's why you see their presidents being prosecuted and jailed. Because the prosecution service is independent. They are not under the control of the president.
Totoo naman, dito rin naman.
Service is under the control of the president, and the president is a political animal, and that's the big problem. But we have the ombudsman. The Constitution created an ombudsman who is supposed to be like the independent prosecution service.
Hindi niya sinagot yung tanong.
But again, it depends on
Hindi niya sinagot yung
who
tanong.
heads the ombudsman. If you have a head like Justice Conchita Carpio Morales, then you have a strong prosecution service against...
Hindi niya sinagot yung tanong, mga kaibigan. Ang simple nung tanong, mga kaibigan, ang tanong po dito nung Masigan, kung sa Pilipinas, meron kang mga business elites at meron kang mga political elites. Ngayon, mga kaibigan, yung business at political elites na yon, minsan-minsan nagtatawiran ng bakod. Halimbawa, you have Cynthia Villar na nasa pamilya ng isang business elite. Okay? Cynthia Villar na senador ngayon. Hindi ba? Mark Villar, nasa pamilya ng business elite na ngayon ay sekretary ng DPWH. Mga kaibigan, yun pong ibig sabihin. Ang tanong po nung reporter na taga Philstar, si Masigan o Marasigan, meron bang plataporma ang isang bayan para mapigilan yung ganong klase ng sistema? Hindi sinagot ni Justice Carpio. Ang sagot niya, ombudsman. Anong magagawa ng ombudsman? Ang ombudsman, pang gobyerno lang yan. Hindi naman niya nililitigate o pinoprosecute rather ang mga business elites. Walang kwenta yung sagot niya, mga kaibigan.
President nominees. What happened to the talks with them and why weren't they included in today's list? Did they say no to the coalition? Attorney Howie? Okay. If anybody else from our conveners would like to answer na lang po, if possible po.
Yeah, I can,
Sige po, Justice
we
Carpio.
initially included Senator Binay because we thought that she was a possible candidate for vice president, but she wrote us and said that she is not interested in running for the presidency or vice presidency. So we have removed her name upon her request.
Kay Isko,
Does that answer the question, or is there any other part of it?
The other part po was about Mayor Isko Moreno po as well.
Yes. As for Mayor Isko Moreno, we initially included him because he was also interested. We have talked to him and he said he was interested. But the other day he wrote us saying that he wanted his name taken out of the list of nominees, possible candidates for president. And of course, we respect that. So we have removed his name.
Mukhang napanood yata ni Isko yung vlog natin,
possible candidate for president or vice president.
Back out siya sa isang
on his own
bayan,
request. And we respect his request. Thank you.
Thank you po. The next question po is also from Maris Cepeda of Rappler. May we know the convener's response to Senator Lacson declining Isambayan's invitation for him to be a presidential nominee? Why extend an invitation to him if he was a proponent of the anti-terror law? The question is open po to be answered by any of our conveners.
Sige,
I
sagot.
will answer that.
Siya ulit. Carpio ulit.
Isambayan is an inclusive group. We try to put together the democratic forces. We may have differences with Senator Ping Lacson on the anti-terror law, but that will not define our relationship because that issue will be decided by the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court says that the anti-terror law is constitutional, we abide by that. And if the Supreme Court says the anti-terror law is unconstitutional, we expect Senator Lacson to abide by that. So we have a referee who will decide, and
Wala pa naman yung decision
to follow the decision of the referee. So that one we can set aside because there is a solution to that issue. But it's up to Senator Lacson to join or not. We cannot force anyone, and we would be happy if they join voluntarily. And if they request that their names be deleted, we have to honor that request. Thank you.
Thank you so much po, Justice Carpio. Our next question is from Xavi Gregorio of Philippine Star. His question is, I can't help but notice the chats on Zoom and supporters seem bent on certain candidates over others. How can Isambayan ensure that its nominees will actually unite behind a single ticket and not break away to mount their own candidacies, given that they already have a strong supportive base? This question is open to any of the conveners of Isambayan.
Let me answer that. All the
Carpio na naman.
candidates that we've talked to,
Nasaan na
we asked
ibang
them if you
conveners
want to
nyo?
join
Magsalita
the
kayo.
process, the selection process of the Isambayan, you have to agree to abide by the decision. If you are not chosen, you have to support the candidate that we choose. And all of them so far have agreed to abide by the
Akala ko
decision.
ba democratic kayo?
Of the Isambayan, by the
Nasaan ang
conveners.
demokrasya doon?
So, because if you do not agree with the decision or you you don't intend to follow the decision of the Sambayan, then what's the use of joining us? Our purpose is to unite all the democratic forces to come out with one candidate only, one slate. And the first thing that we ask of any candidate who wants to be considered is, will you abide by the decision of the Sambayan? Thank you.
Thank you po. Our next question is from Karen Lemma of Reuters. How does Isambayan plan to narrow its list of candidates and end up with one candidate for VP and President? Can you walk us through the process? And what will
Sinabi na
happen
kanina yun,
after you have chosen these candidates?
Mag-e-election daw, kunyari
Again,
election.
open to any of the conveners.
Maybe Howie can, Attorney Calleja can answer that.
There po, Attorney Calleja.
I think naka-exit si...
Yun po.
Nagkaroon ng technical.
Sabi ni Cesar Viray, maraming po salamat sa inyong super chat. Bandang huli niyan, Coach, si Carpio ang pipiliin yan para kumandidato. Pakisabunutan nga yung pelukan yan, Coach. Kung pwede lang.
Question po again is, how does Isambayan plan to narrow its list of candidates and end up with one candidate for Vice President and President? Can you walk us through the process? And what will happen after you have chosen these candidates? Thank you. There po, that's the question.
Ganda yung tanong yun. Hello, narinig ho ba ako?
Yes po, paring Bert. Hello po.
Oo, malagang tanong yan at mahirap din
Si
sagutin.
Bikoy.
Una-una, magandang ipaliwanag na kailangan natin ng mga data. O yun, importante yun. Pero katulad ng piniliwanag kanina, meron tayong 4 na klaseng data. Yung information na galing mismo sa kandidato.
Anti-corruption
Interview natin sila,
anti-corruption
may sasabihin
advocate
sila.
daw. Si
Pangalawa,
Albert Alejo.
Yung galing
Alejo
sa
pala.
Talakayang Bayan at saka
Pero
sa
siya mismo naging
yung
nagpondo.
online
Isa sa mga nagpondo
reference.
ng Bikoy videos ni
online
Trillanes.
voting. Tapos siguro yung may mga grupo, meron din silang mga analysis katulad ng ibang pwede ring isama to. Pangatlo, yung mga survey at yung mga analysis na ginagawa ng kung sino-sino mga aral at mga position papers. At ang pang-apat, due diligence. Ngayon, pagsasama-samahin yan, at dito, merong lilitaw. Baka meron dyan, una-una, doon sa pag-interview sa kanila, baka merong umayaw. Sasabihin nila, naku, pagka ganyan na demand, ayoko na. O baka ganon. O di, may bawas na yun. Bawas na.
Okay.
May pangalawa,
Nakakatawa yun.
yung pag pinagsama-sama ito, imi-mirror din yan sa kanila. Hello, merong issue sa iyo, ganito. Totoo ba to? At pagka malaki yung issue, pwedeng sila mismo magsabi, ayokong limitaw yung issue na yan at buti pa iba na lang piliin. Pero meron naman na, hindi, kaya ko ipaliwanag yan. Tapos sa bandang huli, pag pinagsama-sama na to at may na-double check na natin, ipipresenta ito, bawat isang kandidato mayroong parang dossier, isang folder.
Dossier.
At pag-aaralan to ng conveners group at to some extent, papaliwanag to doon sa General Assembly, yung mga kaalyadong grupo. Mag-uusap yan at kung magkaroon ng consensus, yun na yun. Kung hindi magkakaroon ng consensus, ipapasa yan sa conveners group. Yung mas kaunti na to, 23. Dito yung pag-uusapan, balitaktakan, at dyan na siguro lilitaw kung sino talaga ang may tamang karakter, pagkatao,
My God.
merong kakayahan, competence, at merong magandang track record, at handa na rin siyang kumandidato. Meron siyang makinarya na merong lumalaking network ng support groups. Siguro naman, sa
Mahirapan kayo dun sa lumalaking network ng supporters.
Meron ng lilitaw na mga mas matataas ang score. Pero siyempre, hindi natin matukoy lahat ng pinakamaliliit na na hakbang kasi medyo mag-a-adjust ka rin dun sa galaw ng ibang kandidato. Yan ang mahirap tansyahin. Kailangan din nating pakiramdaman kung ano yung mga external forces, no? So, ang katapos-tapusan, sabi nga ng ibang mga nag-commit dito, Sabi nila, we trust the process, we trust the conveners group,
Uy,
and
trust the
Sambayan
process.
as a network. So let it agree and offer the best candidates. Hindi tayo naghanap ng santo o yung walang bahid. Hindi, wala namang ganun na tao. Lahat na yung may sayad.
Alam ko ba, Santo Diyos si Corazon Aquino?
Mabuting
Si Cory Aquino.
natin
Ano ba?
sa ganitong sitwasyon.
Thank you so much, Paring Bert. Our next question po is a follow-up pa rin po from Ms. Karen Lemma of Reuters. How come Senator Grace, Congresswoman Vilma, and Attorney Chell weren't able to share their messages? Any of the conveners lang po if you'd like to answer.
Ako, hindi yata umabot.
Paring Bert.
Nahuli lang yata po.
Okay po.
Nahuli o hindi nagbigay?
Okay po.
Ay.
Next question po is from TV5. For any of the conveners din po. Have you talked with VP Lenny Robredo, Senator Grace Poe, CBAC Rep Brother Eddie Villanueva, Attorney Chel Diokna, and Batangas Rep Vilma Santos Recto, and what are their reactions? Did any one of them actually confirm that they will run for the position? Thank you. There po, any of the conveners lang po.
Wala.
Brother,
Hi,
Tahimik.
Ako na
brother.
siguro.
Sige po.
Ang maigsing sagot, nakausap naming lahat pag sinabi namin, hindi naman lahat nung conveners. Meron kaming small group of conveners na nakikipag-usap isa-isa doon sa mga principal na nabanggit kanina. Ano ang pinag-usapan namin? Ang pwede kong sabihin, kasi meron kaming siyempre confessional seal. Ang napag-usapan namin, pumayag
Dami yung
sila
sinasabi.
na isama yung kanilang pangalan doon sa listahan na ininominate sa isang bayan. Pangalawa, na pumayag din sila na sila ay sasama at papaloob doon sa proseso na sinusulong ng isang bayan. At pangatlo, hiningi namin sa kanila na kung sino yung mapili doon sa mga nasa listahan, kung pwede nilang suportahan at pwede nilang encourage yung kanilang mga supporters na suportahan din. Lahat sila nagsabi na gagawin din nila yon. So, ito yung mga basic na pag-uusap noong ating sa ating mga nasa listahan. Kasama na diyan yung pag-uusap tungkol syempre doon sa mga issues, no? So yung mga critical issues, meron namang meeting of minds. Siguro yung
Meeting of
pagkakaiba
minds.
ay yung sa paano
Kayo na lang. Kayo na lang mag-meeting of minds.
Halimbawa sa ekonomiya,
Huwag niyo
sa
may damay dyan.
But in very general terms, yung targets at saka yung key issues na ipinapaglaban ng isang bayan ay pinapanigan din naman nitong mga kandidato na natanggap. Salamat.
Thank you, Brother Armin. The next question po is for Attorney Howie. How many members do you have right now? How many members
Yun.
and supporters do you envision
Yan ang
you will
gusto kong
have
marinig.
before the May 2022 elections come? That question
Ilan na kayo ngayon?
from the viewers po for Attorney Howie.
Yes, Ria, can you see me now?
Yes po, there po.
Yan, okay. Kanina hindi tayo
Si
nagkita.
Kalbo.
But, okay, good afternoon to everybody. Ang isang bayan, if you look at our Isama Ako app, we're almost 4,000 members already in the
Ano yung Isama Ako?
app. So if you look at our chapters, we have more than 40 chapters already, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, plus yung ating overseas chapters. If you look also at our sectoral representatives, organizations, we have more than 40, almost 50 organizations and coalitions already. If we put this all together, we estimate we have more than 4 million members.
What? 4 million
including,
talaga?
Organization and coalition.
Hindi ako naniniwala.
So we are growing.
Hindi ako naniniwala sa inyo.
we are,
Imbento yan.
Very busy forming
Hindi ako
chapters.
naniniwala.
And I guess this is also part of the question.
4 million talaga? 4 million?
Transform to campaign mode because we now have chapters grassroots on the grounds, not only Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, but in most and all provinces.
Okay.
we're already
Gets ko
forming,
na.
And as I said, we have already formed
Mga kaibigan, 4 million kasi kasama yung legal fronts ng CPP. Kasama yung grupo ng mga aktivista.
What makes each of the 6 candidates qualify in the Isambayan presidential list? What are the main qualities that you considered?
Well, sinabi na atin yung qualifications natin, yung track record, tinignan na most of them have been in public service and private, also in private
Correct, James.
work. So tinignan
50
po natin
coalitions.
yung track
Correct.
record at nakita natin na ang kanilang track record kumbaga maayos at nasasang-ayon para sa ating suporta at tulong sa mamamayang Pilipino at sa isang bayang Pilipino.
Mukha mo. Sabi ni Sunny Aribado.
Nila o yung character nila. Hindi naman po sila
4 million, bakit nanonood 292 lang?
So, nakita natin
Sabi
na may
ni
isang
Verocero.
sila, palabra de honor. Kaya
Gusto
nakita
ko yan.
natin na pwede rin silang masama sa isang bayan. And
Bakit sa Canada
dito,
chapter nila
Ria,
kasama
at
si
sa
Joma
ating mga
Season?
viewers, sumasang-ayon sila sa unity. Sumasang-ayon sila sa inclusiveness, no?
Ay, nako.
Hindi naman sila tayo lang o kami
Ganda
lang.
ng mga
So,
ano nyo,
they
ha?
agree to
Comments
the
nyo ngayon, ha?
principle of unity. They agree to the principle of respecting and engaging and coming into the process and respecting into the process. So I think that is very important. And we see that they are not only capable, but physically and mentally capable also of running a national campaign. So very important yun. Lalo na yung physical health, no? At saka kailangan transparent din. So we see that they are more than capable, but I guess we need also the help of the citizenry, yung ating mamamayan, para tulungan din po mamili ang isang bayan. Salamat po. Salamat, Rhea.
Thank you po, Attorney. The next question po is addressed to Secretary Alberto Rosario. Did all of the nominees commit to support the Isambayan's choice?
Ayun. Patay.
You're
Sige.
muted lang po.
Yeah.
There po. Thank you.
The answer is short and sweet. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Thank you po. The next question
Anong laman
is
nun?
from Kyle Atienza of Business World. The next question is, what are the plans of Isambayan to get the support of local leaders? Has the coalition already talked with local politicians and the respective parties? Ms. Etta Rosales, if you could, they want you to answer this question. There po.
Okay, thank you. I was
Si Etta
actually
Rosales,
out of the loop for quite some time. I was only able to get in right now. Look, we launched it March 18. What date is it today? It's June 12, right?
Oh,
So
anong
March
ngayon?
18, April 18, May 18, and it's not even 3 months old.
Oh,
So
tapos,
we have talked to some LGUs, we've talked to some barangay captains, and we are just in the period of forming our organizations. Yes, we have tried to talk to some LGUs, but you know something, I think that we have to look at the context of the political climate now. Don't you realize how timid and shy politicians are in trying to cross over to the position of opposition? Yes. Don't you realize, and this was pointed out a while ago, how big businesses are timid and shy to go outright because of the investments? They just cut the contracts. This was pointed out very succinctly
tulad
by
nga nun.
Justice Carter.
Yan na naman. Kontrata na naman.
So the fact that business is shy, a bit conservative, and politicians are shy, so too are LGUs. So we try to understand this context. And the only way you can really get them to be a bit more courageous is to organize in the grassroots and to show that people from the grassroots.
Mga kaibigan, isa lang po ang sinasabi dito ni Etta Rosales. Ang sinasabi lang niya, takot ang mga politiko, takot ang mga oligarko sa taong bayan ngayon. Takot silang lahat. Hindi ba maganda na yun, yung kapangyarihan nasa atin, sa ating mga hampas lupa? Kaya nga ang sinasabi niya, Kailangan ma-reach out daw yung grassroots. Tayo yun, yung grassroots, mga kaibigan. Tayo yung mga hampas lupa. Nasa atin na ngayon yung kapangyarihan.
Ng mga politiko at ng mga malalaking negosyante. Sasabihin nila, abay, mukhang okay pala. So ito ang strategy ng sambayan. We do things both at the same time. We talk to them, but diplomatically, we try to understand the politicos and businesses, but at the same time, we organize at the grassroots. Pero I have a question to ask one of the reactors, if I may. Pwede ba, Ria?
Sige po.
Oo. I'd like to ask Andrew. Andrew, by the way, I read your articles and I have been so impressed with the way you write. So I asked Justice Carpio, who was writing so, precisely and with such accuracy. I'd like to ask because, Wu Changko came out with a very, very accurate, succinct, and no holds barred analysis of what to expect in these coming elections. It's gonna be a troll game, he
Troll
says.
game ang wala.
They're not gonna talk about human rights. They're not even interested in justice and so on. It's gonna be who has the best number of trolls. It's a money game. Kasi
Ayan na
it
naman
takes,
sila sa troll.
money
Troll na
to be able
naman.
to organize your trolls. So somebody
Ayan na
was
naman
asking,
sila sa
I think
troll
it was
nila.
Maria Reza, that we do have to develop a scientific method of trying to address, digital communications.
Alam nyo mga kaibigan,
Of course, Sambayan says, yes, we will do that.
alam nyo mga kaibigan, sa akin, wala akong mas natitrigger ako dyan bilang isang political observer na nasa YouTube. Nabubwisit ako dyan sa mga sinasabi ng mga may trolls na ganito, may trolls na ganyan. Unang-una, hindi lahat ng bibigay ng opinion online ay troll. Hindi lahat. Sana alamin nyo muna bago kayo magsalita ng mga ganyan-ganyan nyo. May mga bayarin, oo. Pero hindi lahat. Tapos, mga kaibigan, gagawin nila yung excuse. Pag natalo sila sa 2022, ang gagawin nilang excuse ay dahil naunahan tayo ng mga troll sa social media.
War is now in the cell phone.
Yeah.
The field of war is now in the laptop. But I must make a exception. Trolls are only the medium of the message. What will win the day is the messaging. Trolls, ma'am, just for your maybe perhaps for the entire audience who are listening, trolls are for hire.
Exactly.
We call them a farm. They're a troll farm, and their mandate is to whatever you tell them to do. So they can laser message, or they can attack, or they can defend. But I think what will make the difference in this campaign is the messaging. And there are principles to messaging that we have to learn. And I have to say, I have to make reference again to President Duterte, because his messaging in 2016 was really on point. And I think the biggest factor that won him the day, that won him the election, is the absence of dissonance. In other words, President Duterte, in all his imperfection, was a match between the personality and the message. There was a marriage there. And if I'm
Ang tawag doon, integrity. Integrity ang tawag doon. Yung message at saka yung tao magkaisa. Integrity yun. Ang diferensya kay Mar Rojas at kay President Duterte noong 2016, si Mar Rojas, plastic. Hanggang ngayon, yun pa rin ang gusto nyong gawin. Binibida nyo si Leni Robredo, binibida nyo mga to. Sila pa rin yun. Kaya kayo sasablay isang bayan. Sasablay kayo sa pinagkakagawa nyo. Dahil hanggang ngayon, plastic pa rin ang mga kandidato nyo. Walang integridad.
So we were pre-programmed as Catholic Filipino children to be against the Communist Party, to be against the oppressive rich, to be against maybe the incumbent government even, which is why it was no surprise that President Duterte made an enemy out of the oligarchs, out of the communists, and out of the past administration. He was only confirming what we already had the bias against, therefore making him the voice of the people. So my point, ma'am, is there are many,
Tinan mo tong mukong talaga
many
natin.
communication strategies and philosophies that make up the campaign.
Wait lang, nadidistract ako
While
sa
I
pinagsasabi
agree
ni Kuya.
the trolls are-
Papakinggan ko siya uli maya-mayang konti. Pero mga kaibigan, may mali siya doon sa sinabi niya eh. Ang mali niya ganito, tayo daw lahat, simula nung pagkabata, ay tinrain na magalit sa mga komunista, magalit sa mga mayayaman, at magalit sa kung sinong nakaupong gobyerno. Yun daw ang tinukoy ni Pangulong Duterte noong 2016. May punto siya doon na konti. Pero mga kaibigan, may punto rin kung bakit tayo galit. Kung bakit tayo galit kay Abnoy. Kung bakit tayo galit kay Panot. Kung bakit tayo galit sa CPP, NPA, NDF. At kung bakit tayo galit sa mga oligarko. Isa lang yan mga kaibigan. Inabuso tayong lahat nung 2010 hanggang 2016. Kaya tayo galit sa kanila. Hindi tayo programmed, hindi tayo pinrograma simula nung kabataan natin para magalit sa mga grupo na ito. Nagagalit tayo dahil sa CPP NPA for 52 years inaabuso ang Pilipinas. Ang mga oligarko for the longest time, yung mga oligarko at saka yung mga asyendero nung 19-something pa, ay hanggang ngayon sila pa rin ang namamayagpag, sila pa rin ang nang-aabuso sa mga Pilipino. At simula nung panahon ni Pangulong Panot, ni Pinoy, simula 2010 hanggang 2015, 2016 mga kaibigan, nakita ko mismo ng aking mga mata kung gaano kakorap yung grupo na yan. Kaya tayo galit at kaya nanalo si Pangulong Duterte. Ngayon, ang sinasabi nila, minamaliit nila yon mga kaibigan. Grabe tong mga to.
Thank you so much po. We have our last two questions for this afternoon. The first question is for Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales. Do you think COMELEC will be capable of managing the elections, especially with the pandemic also coming into play?
We always hope for the best. We have to trust the integrity of the members of the COMELEC. Because if we don't, we will be pessimistic. And I still believe that the people who have been appointed as members of the COMELEC would take the pulse of the nation. In other words, they would probably, I'm not very sure though, they would probably take the interest of the many, less in favor of the interest of the few. Thank you.
Thank you so much po. And for our last question for Attorney Howie is, how do you plan to do your campaigns during the pandemic? What if lockdowns happen again?
Hindi online. Simple-simple.
Attorney Howie?
Ria, can I also
Hello,
ask-
Ria. Hello, Ria.
Yes po.
Yes, I'll give you Dean Tony first, then I can answer after.
Yeah.
Tony?
Sige po, sige po.
No, I was going to answer the same question as Ombudsman Morales. Actually, as important as this partisan work that we're doing in Sambayan is also the work that many other groups are doing to have a COVID-safe as well as an honest elections, because those are very important things to do and the work has to begin now. So actually, the Ateneo School of Government, I'm no longer dean there, by the way, it's Dean Ron Mendoza, who's the dean. They have actually put up a coalition, it's called Participate, with hundreds already of organizations that are working with COMELEC to get the budget right, so that we have COVID safe campaigns and COVID safe elections. They're thinking about things like limited rallies, limited attendance, and all of that. But we can definitely have a good, robust campaign as well as safe elections, and other countries have shown that that's possible. But it's also something that has to be worked on starting today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney.
Can I just add to that?
Yes po, go ahead po.
Ria, can I just add to that?
Yes po, go ahead po, go ahead po.
Just to add to that, no, to what Tony is saying, it's not really impossible. We must always remember what Leonard Cohen says, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything, and that is how the light comes in. You know something? I want you to know that community pantries that have been organized are now being open, to vote, register and vote. And maybe we can start from the grassroots, from the community level.
Kailan pa ginawa yun?
Kababaihan is thinking of coming up with komunidad para sa kooperatiba ng kababaihan. So maybe here we can ask the business sector if they are open to helping, even, show us how to develop cooperatives that can guide the kababaihan and the community people on how to register and vote, what to do, and how to organize and understand their issues so that the electorate, they can be sure to vote and come out with a material base in order to ensure that the votes, collective votes of Sambayan will tilt the balance in favor of the winning candidate. Yun po, you start from the community base. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Grassroots ulit.
Thank you, Ria. Let me just jump in here, no?
Wala nang control yung moderator.
Yeah, I know there's an added question lang po for you before you answer that question. It just came in now. Grace Po just issued a statement that she's not interested to run for president. Can you please comment on this? There
Yun, patay.
Okay, so look again. Thank you, Ria. I think our comment to Senator Grace, I think it is clear that she is with us in forming a united opposition, agreeing with the Isang Bayan that we need only one candidate in the 2022 elections. And we respect if she would not like to be under the names of the presidential candidate. But we have also to remember that our list is for both president and vice president, or vice versa. So we must make it clear that whoever can run for vice president may also run for president and vice versa. So I think if that is her position, then we would respect that in the same light that we respect also the position of Senator Nancy and Mayor Isko.
No, nag-aalisa na sila ngayon.
Clear also in our conversation.
Nung una, proud na proud sila. Member sila ng Isang Bayan. Ngayon, nag-aalisan isa-isa.
And agreeing that we only need a solid and one opposition come May 2022. With regards to the campaign, Ria, I think also with the statement of the LGU, LGU is one part of the campaign. Let us make it clear that Isang Bayan will make a new form of a campaign, or a better form of a campaign. It will be a people campaign. We have seen that. We have been successful in the Palawan experience, where the Palaweños won. The one Palawan won against the 3-in-1, against the machinery, the money of the local governments of Palawan. And here we will duplicate, replicate, and do that on a national level. We have learned it can be done. We can campaign in a pandemic season. Even
sabi ni Infested Jonesy, si Pacquiao nakikiusap sa inyo.
We can do it online. We can observe social distancing.
Si Pacquiao interesado pa, sabi ni Trexie Villa.
And our regular rallies and speaking engagements
Gusto ko yan.
all around the country. We will not be stopped. We will not be hindered. It will be an obstacle. It will be a challenge that Isang Bayan would be willing to take up. And especially with the help of our youth. We have more than 4 million youth
talaga
in Isang Bayan.
Youth talaga yung target nila, mga kaibigan.
We have 2 youth representatives in the conveners. And I think the youth would be very instrumental in our campaign.
Ay nako,
in
pinag-usapan
our
na natin yan mga
in our
kaibigan.
fight for regaining our democracy come 2022. And maybe I would like to, I think one of our youth representatives is here, Miss Renee, maybe she can add for the participation as we go with the, of course, kasama na yung social media, online participation. I think the youth is very active with that. We have been working with that, and maybe a few words from our youth convener, from Miss Renee Ko. Renee?
Thank you po, Attorney Howie. And siguro bago po ako magbigay ng ilang mga salita, gusto ko lang din po i-welcome at pasalamatan yung thousands of viewers ng Isang Bayan, Isang Boto na event na to. Meron po tayo, nag-peak 2,000 po dito sa Zoom, nagkaroon ng almost 3,000 sa Facebook at sa YouTube. I assume mas marami pong talagang tao. Truly, tinututukan po ng buong Pilipinas.
Kumbinsihin niyo po yung mga sarili niyo.
And we can see this doon po sa mga pinresent natin earlier, kung saan nakapag-form na tayo ng maraming chapters across cities, municipalities, regions, even countries. So ito po yung ginagawa ng Isang Bayan, and ito rin po yung gustong dalhin ng
247 watching Isang Bayan channel.
And sa lahat ng endeavors
17 sa Rappler,
na
900 sa GMA.
2022 elections. Energy and vitality. And yung linking
mga kaibigan,
of arms
halo-halo
and
pa
alliance
yun.
building, so that all of
Tulad
these
ko.
groups will be able
Ako
to
nanonood
enter
ako.
our coalition. Tapos lahat to,
Pero hindi ako agree sa kanila.
Isa para ma-forward natin yung isang
Tayong lahat nanonood tayo, pero hindi tayo agree sa kanila.
Directly sa Duterte administration. Pero beyond that, beyond sa pagbangga, nandito rin yung ating pagsagot sa mga napakaraming issues na dinulot ng neglect, ng maraming years of hindi pagkinig sa mga sektor natin. Lahat ng mga polisiya na pagkukulang na nakita natin, a-address po yan by talking with politicians. Yung mga policies nila. By consulting with these
Bakit mo lang Cavite chapter ang Isang Bayag?
sectors on the ground. Ano ba yung hinahanap nila sa candidates na to? At ito yung palalakasin natin para ito yung mag-shape talaga, mararamdaman ng pressure, yung public clamor, na ito yung hinahanap ng Pilipino ngayon. Given na meron tayong pandemic response na hindi sumagot sa needs ng maraming Pilipino. Hunger has skyrocketed. Poverty is increasing. At nakikita natin to sa grassroots movement din. Like,
ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo mga kaibigan.
So, given na maraming grassroots movement ngayon, maraming years.
Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo mga kaibigan, nagagamitin nila yung mga kabataan para sa propaganda nila. Tingnan mo tong batang to. Alam ba niya yung mga pinagsasabi niya? I doubt na alam niya yan. Hindi niya alam ang mga tunay na issues na nangyayari. Hindi niya alam kung paano siya ginagamit ng mga taong mas matatanda sa kanya.
Pagpasok ng mga ng organization to, pag member nila, yung bosses nila mismo, yung bit-bit nilang sektor nila, papasok po ito sa proseso, sa information na namin ida-digest ng Isang Bayan and for other candidates as well. So, yung sinabi po lahat na yung the different ways by which we gather information, the different ways by which we will continue to shape policy through public clamor, through alliance building, lahat po ito gagawin ng Isang Bayan,
public clamor,
kasama ng kabataan, ng
pag-iingay lang gagawin nila. Mag-iingay kami.
Para at the end of the day, we really see this competent slate na mapapanalo natin for the 2022 elections. Ayun lang po, gusto ko lang din po ibahagi na yung kabataan willing na mag-forward ng slate na talagang nakikinig sa issues ng sektor ng kabataan, and magagawa lang natin to kung lahat tayo magsama-sama and really to participate in the process.
Susunod yata nila kay Sara Ilago tong batang to eh.
Thank you so much to our conveners for answering the questions, and to all the people who tuned in and sent their questions. I hope nasagot po namin yung mga tanong niyo today. Pero kung hindi pa po namin nasasagot, please feel free to contact Isang Bayan through the social media platforms.
Si Cory. Sabi ni Andy Guilleno. Kamukha nga na si Cory.
Before you introduce JP, please.
Is he here now?
Yeah, andyan siya.
There po, from Nagkaisang Manggagawa, Mr. Attorney Sunny Matula.
Sino siya? Anong gagawin niya?
Nakamute lang po, Attorney. Mute ahead po.
Pwede naman i-unmute yan nung admin. Sino bang admin?
Magandang hapon po sa ating mga kasama. Ako po si Attorney Sunny Matula, ang chairperson ng Nagkaisa Labor Coalition. Kasama po ang mga manggagawa at mga kasapi ng Nagkaisa Labor Coalition sa kusang ito para at least may pakita natin ang isang malayang Pilipinas, malaya mula sa karahasan na nangyayari sa kasalukuyan, at malaya sa kagutuman. Gusto ng mga manggagawa siyempre na mataas ang antas ng kanilang kalagayan, at sa palagay namin ay hindi mangyayari kung ang kasalukuyang administrasyon ay mananatili sa susunod na termino. Kaya po ang mga manggagawa ay malakas ang suporta sa sambayanan at sa mga kandidato
Ano daw?
na
Daming sinabi.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much, Attorney Sunny. And before we end our program today, we'd like to call on Attorney JP Calleja, ang spokesperson po ng Sambayan, para lang po ipabatid sa inyo ang mga susunod pang programa ng Isang Bayan. Attorney JP, if you please.
Maraming salamat, Ria. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Lahat po tayo dito sa Isang Bayan ay kasali.
Hindi kami kasama sa inyo.
Sa pamimili ng
At tigilan mo kami.
kandidato. Sa July 1, magbubukas ang ating voting portal para sa ating presidente, vice-presidente,
July 1 talaga?
at senador. Huwag din po nating kalimutang sumali at makinig sa ating mga susunod na town halls o talakayang bayan. Sa June 19 po, ang Defense and Foreign Policy. Sa June 23, ang Business and Economy. June 26, kalagayan ng mga nakatatanda at PWD. Sa susunod na buwan din po ang ating mga religious organizations at ang mga kapatid nating Muslim sa bansang Moro Administrative Region of Muslim Mindanao.
Pati
Bayad
Barm, dinamay niyo sa
utang
kakalokohan niyo.
Tayo na po't makilahok sa usapang utang, isang town hall tungkol sa ating international debt na pinamagatang Till Death Do Us Part. Meron po
Baduy.
tayong app na pwede niyo
Baduy.
i-download. Hanapin lang po ang Isang Bayan app. Pwede nyo rin po kaming kumustahin sa aming Isang Bayan Facebook page o sa aming website sa isangbayan.org. At syempre, abangan po natin ang aming final slate of candidates na tatakbo sa susunod na halalan. Huwag po tayo mawala ng pag-asa. Kung tayo ay magkakaisa, nasa atin din po ang ating solusyon. Tayo na po at mag-isang bayan. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Nagulat si Rita. Si Ria Taide
We
pala.
have a video po to show before we end today's
Gulat siya.
program.
Hindi siya ready.
Some technical difficulties. Zoom is a little bit tough to work around, but we gotta make do with what we have, I guess.
Energy left the group. Yan na naman.
There.
Panahon na ng pagpili, panahon na ng halalan.
Nakamute po yata yung video.
Madami namang kandidato, madaming mukha at pangalan.
Sino kaya ang bagay sa ating bansa? Hindi naman
Coach, pwede na ba ako matulog? Pwede naman. Pero magko-closing lang ako ng konti. Sige, I'll end this here na. I'll end this here. Tigilan na natin itong kabalbalan nila.
kahit na sino.
Anyway, stop ko muna to. Total naman, tapos na sila. Ay, nako. Ang haba-haba ng 2 oras at kalahati. Sakit sa ulo. Sakit niya sa bangs. Sakit niya sa bangs. Mga kaibigan, expect more yung mga ganito, yung mga live viewing, no. Hindi lang po sa Isang Bayan, mga iba't ibang topics din. So, halimbawa, kung merong Senate hearing na kailangan natin panoorin, gagawin natin 'yan, or congressional hearing, gagawin din natin 'yan. Mga ganitong live viewing, no, para live at interactive yung natin, pagko-comment natin, di ba? At nagkakabalitaan tayo ng minsan mas maaga, ganyan-ganyan. Diyos ko, ang sakit sa ulo ng sambayan. Legit, ang sakit niya sa ulo. But anyway, mga kaibigan, expected na natin yan. Umpisa pa lang, ine-expect na natin na this will be a propaganda event. Puro propaganda lang ang gagawin nila. Wala silang ibang sasabihin kundi i-criticize ang administration. At manliligaw ng mga botante, etc. etc. Yuji Izumi, ibalik niyo ang 1.5 oras ang buhay ko. Walang napala. Meron naman, nakapag-comment tayo, Yuji Izumi. Na ilabas natin lahat ng natin, sa loobin natin. Nagkakaisa tayo sa pag-dislike. But anyway, so yun nga, no? So, expected ko na yan, umpisa pa lang, na this will be a propaganda event, na lahat ng criticism na sabihin nila sa administrasyon, gagawin nila. Nagulat pa nga ako nabigla pa nga ako na hindi nila binalik hanggang sa punto ni Marcos, di ba? Ni President Ferdinand Edralin Marcos. Sabihin nila, diktador, etc., etc. Pero mga kaibigan, may quote lang ako na isang linya. Napakita ko na sa inyo kanina. Meron akong book ni Ferdinand Marcos mismo ang sumulat. Today's Revolution, Democracy. Ang tunay na revolution daw talaga ay ipaglaban ng demokrasya. Yun daw talaga yan. Meron isang linya dito, mga kaibigan, na gusto kong basahin sa inyo kung makikita ko siya ulit. Sana makita ko siya agad. Sana yan? Nasa bandang huli yun eh. Ayun. Ito. Meron linya dyan. Sabi ni Ferdinand Marcos, sinulat niya to, There is these days a fashionable anxiety about my so-called dictatorial designs. Ang sabi ni Ferdinand Marcos, no, yung mga tao doon na nakikriticize sa kanya noong panahon na yon ay tinatawag siyang diktador. I am not, of course, the first Filipino president to be accused of having dictatorial tendencies. Hindi raw siya yung kauna-unahang naakusahan na merong kapasidad na maging diktador. Or having violated the Constitution. Yan din sinasabi nila ngayon kay Pangulong Duterte, di ba? As presidential history shows, both in the Philippines and in the United States, any president who exercises his will is invariably accused of being dictatorial. So lahat daw ng mga presidente, kahit sinong leader, na magsasabi ng kanilang gusto o gagawin ang kanilang gustong mangyari sa bansa, yung mga improvement na gusto nilang gawin, ay sasabihin, yung mga kontra sa kanila, ay sasabihin na ang mga presidenteng ito ay diktador. Tulad ng ginawa ng mga rebeldeng komunista at ng mga dilawan nung panahon ni Ferdinand Marcos. Ang sabi pa niya, my reaction therefore should be one of amusement, knowing how critics love to exaggerate. Yung po ang punto nun, mga kaibigan. Ang mga kritiko ni Pangulong Marcos nung panahon pa niya. Sinulat po itong librong ito, mga kaibigan, 1971. Papakita ko sa inyo. Ayan. 1971. Kung nakikita nyo. 1971 pa po ito. In fact, medyo may mga damage na nga. Sobrang luma na nito. But anyway, sinulat po niya ito noong 1971. Kung ano yung nangyayari noong 1971, mga kaibigan. 1972 po, nagkaroon ng martial law. Kung ano yung nangyayari noong 1971, hanggang ngayon, yun pa rin ang strategiya ng oposisyon. Maging eksaherado sa kanilang mga sinasabi laban sa administrasyon na gusto nilang ibagsak. Ang problema ngayon nila, mga kaibigan, noong panahon ni Ferdinand Marcos, mas madali yan kasi wala pang internet. Noong panahon ni Ferdinand Marcos, mas madali yan kasi wala pang internet. ngayong panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, mahihirapan sila. Kasi, merong mga tao na nandito ngayon sa social media tulad ko na handa silang i-fact check sa mga sinasabi nila. Handa silang i-criticize online. Na meron ding kapasidad na makipag-usap sa ibang tao, sa maraming tao at one time. Tulad po ngayon, ang ating pong pinakamarami kanina ay nasa 1.5. Around 1.5, 1.6, pinakamarami po natin kanina. So sabay-sabay din tayong nanonood. Sabay-sabay natin kinikriticize yung nangyayari sa isang bayan. Ine-express natin ang ating demokrasya. Kinokontra natin yung mga eksaherasyon nila. At tulad nga din ng sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos dati noong 1971, ang panlaban lamang ng oposisyon simula noong 1971 hanggang ngayon ay yung eksaherasyon ng kanilang mga propaganda. Yun po ang nangyari ngayon, mga kaibigan. Yun po ang nangyari ngayon. Exaggeration lamang ito ng mga propaganda nila. Sinamarize lang nila into 2 hours. Pero mga kaibigan, malaki ang problema nila dahil kami na tinatawag na trolls, na kahit hindi naman, dahil may sarili naman ako opinion, hindi naman ako bayad. Walang politikong nagbabayad sa akin. Mahihirapan sila, mga kaibigan. Walang may hawak sa atin. Walang may hawak sa atin. Mahihirapan sila ngayon. Hindi na uubra dito yung mga pakanta-kanta nila tulad kanina, mga pa-jingle-jingle, pakanta-kanta nila. Hindi na uubra yung pagkuha nila mga artista. Hindi na uubra ngayon yan. Lalo na ang baba ng trust rating ng traditional media. Mahihirapan talaga sila, mga kaibigan. Mahihirapan sila. Pero mga kaibigan, patuloy natin babantayan itong mga pinaggagawa ng isang bayan. Nakakagulat lang, mga kaibigan, na dati ang pinagpipilian nila si Leni Robredo, Grace Poe, Nancy Binay, Trillanes, Isko, Moreno, yung 5 yan. Ngayon, 6. Pero nag-iba ng line-up. Leni Robredo, si Grace Poe, yun natira. Trillanes din pala natira from the first pick. Napaltan yung 3, yung kalahati. Natanggal si Isko, ang pumalit si Brother Eddie Villanueva. Sumama din si Vilma Santos Recto. Okay? Tsaka, sino pa ba itong isa? Vilma Santos Recto. Chel Jokno, pang-6. So, dyan sa 6 na yan, mga kaibigan, dyan sa 6 na yan, magbobotohan daw sila sa July 1. Magbobotohan daw sila kung sino ang i-nomina nila bilang Pangulo at Vice-Pangulo. So, dun sa 2 na yun, so let's say may kumuha sila ng 2 doon, malamang yung matitira, automatic, sa senatorial slate nila yun, yung matitira. Sigurado. Sa senatorial slate na yun. What's next, Coach? Back out na si Isko. Malamang napanood niya yung si Grace po rin pala, nag-back out na rin kanina, no? Malamang, mga kaibigan, na-realize nila na si Isang Bayan hindi makakatulong sa kanila. Ang dami nag-back out, di ba? Back out si Lacson, back out si Isko, back out ngayon si Grace po, back out si Nancy Binay. Takot sila kasi hindi nila, nung una, ina-expect nila magiging pabor sa kanila si Isang Bayan sa image nila, pero mukhang hindi nakakatulong. Wala, hindi makakatulong. Political suicide ang pagsali sa Isang Bayan, mga kaibigan. Wala silang magagawa doon. That is a fact. Political suicide yan. Okay, so mga kaibigan, maraming pong salamat for watching our live viewing ng Isang Bayan list launch. Listahan ng kanilang potential candidates. At huwag niyo pong kalimutan, mga kaibigan, sa Monday na po ulit tayo. Okay, magla-live 11 p.m. Okay, sa ating Coach Jarret Live. At sa mga kaibigan po nating nasa abroad, baliktad naman, pahinga na po tayo. Okay? I hope that your day was great and that tomorrow will be another great one. A weekend na sa inyo bukas, di ba? Sa mga nasa ibang bansa. Sa mga nasa Pilipinas naman po, enjoy your weekend. Don't forget na bukas po ay merong linggo. Unahin po natin ang Panginoon sa araw ng linggo, okay? At wag po natin kakalimutan on Monday, I'll see you all again 11 p.m. on our next Coach Jarret Live. Okay, bye everyone. See you all on Monday.